Did you just see that Street Fighter segment? When you can watch something and you're unsure, did they record gameplay and just add a filter of some sort to it, or did they actually animate this? And you're kind of teeter-tottering between which one is actually happening, you know you just had something truly special. That Street Fighter segment, both the retro and more modern version of Street Fighter, where you had Aya and Chitose as well as our girl, just kind of like battle it out, and just to see the level of detail to everything. I honestly don't know what just happened. That was good. This episode I thought was incredible. It almost in a certain sense felt like a good episode 12. You could have ended this season on this episode, and I don't think many people would have been complaining, because it kind of does feel like we bring the side cast together and we kind of accept that the marriage is good, it's strong, while there will be that potential, like you have Chitose getting a little bit of romantic butterflies towards our boy Nasa. Nothing's going to happen there. He's not going to jump ship. He's going to be loyal to his girl. And then you have Aya, who I don't even know what to claim her as. She's the most unpredictable side character I've seen in a rom-com, where she's never going to try to break up the marriage, but she is going to plant seeds of doubt. And I love how those immediately get tossed out the window when she reveals that, oh no, she actually is a good cook, and oh god, she's a good gamer, so now I actually kind of want to be her best friend. It's just such a fascinatingly hilarious episode that does end on a cute moment. Of course, we get that kiss, and that was the prize she wanted, which is of course just as sweet and innocent as we've ever seen the show. But honestly, this was an incredible episode. I think the idea of kicking this episode off with Chitose just freaked out about what happened to the apartment, to then immediately seeing Tsukasa just completely troll the girl. She is so gullible beyond words. Like, the fact that she can tell her that she's living at a playground and that there's gas and electricity just go in as she sneaks away, which is hilarious. And honestly, the maids, I feel for them, they best be getting paid a decent wage, because the amount of just insanity that they must have to experience with this girl day in and day out is probably unmanageable at times. Or the idea that when they go to the bathhouse, she makes her think that she's sleeping on a pillow of milk as she sleeps on the ground. This girl has no chill, and if it wasn't for Nasa, I feel like she would have had no issues with continuing to troll her this entire time. But it is hilarious to see just how good of a connection they have, that they're able to understand each other that well. Despite having that gullible nature, you can tell Chitose really does care for Tsukasa, and Tsukasa, despite obviously getting annoyed with her from time to time, cares about her and won't let anything bad actually happen. She just likes to troll her a little bit, which is honestly hilarious. With how the episode was going, I was expecting that it was going to be kind of like a bath episode, based on how much we were getting those cliche moments, after you get out of the bath, you drink that milk, just like simple moments that you see in almost any anime ever that has a bathhouse episode. Generally it's on the male side, so it's kind of funny seeing it on the reverse. But then the idea of the party, and then how that party just turns into a gamer's wildest dreams. I don't understand what we did to deserve this episode. I'm imagining that when the mangaka if this is actually in the manga is just a big Street Fighter fan, and someone on the production who's working on this anime is also a big Street Fighter fan, and then they just made sure that, hey, we're going to put in a lot of resources to make sure that this feels completely genuine, so that any hardcore Street Fighter fan won't get upset seeing something not match up, especially considering how much time and effort they're clearly putting into this. I just thought this episode, just felt like such a good stopping point, that I'm, on one hand, really happy we're getting an episode 12. On the other, I'm curious what episode 12 is going to do to one-up itself from this, because generally when you have an episode where you have essentially the entire cast of characters outside of the parents come in, and they're really bonding, they're bickering, but they ultimately end up in a good bonding sequence, that's usually how you end a show like this. You're saying, hey, we've experienced a lot in this journey, so let's bring everyone together, have a little bit of a hurdle, but ultimately end with everyone parting ways in good terms. So where do you go from here? Do we get the apartment next week? Do we get something else next week, right? There's a lot of things they can do, and even if it's not even nearly as conclusive as a season ender as episode 11 was, you're not going to be disappointed if it's just another daily adventures, because watching these two's relationship grow time and time again, the idea that she's so confident in her husband's abilities that he can make a retro game controller that's accurate to the first Street Fighter when it came out, just simple things like that, or the idea that Nasa's he knows, like, hey, if I want something tasty, she's going to be able to cook it because she's that talented. It just feels like they've reached such a great point in their relationship that anything can happen and we're going to probably walk out either just overloaded with sweetness or we're going to laugh our ass off. And in this episode, it was mostly on the comedy side, but it definitely ended on the sweet side. And that's what I love about the show, is that it's not afraid to say, we can literally do anything. We can show you anything. We can grab any of the characters that we've seen. And as long as one of our central main two are on the screen for a majority of the episode, it's going to be near perfect. It really is. And by overwhelming us with every character that's been important up until this point, rather than it feeling like a bloated episode, by having it be centered around a party and, you know, a majority of the cast is looking at them as a bunch of fools and airheads, where only 3 are really getting gung-ho about the games and things like that. It just allows you to have the most ridiculous and lighthearted fun with no real sense of dread or conflict. Even the idea of having the maids, you know, like actively be the internal thought process for Chitose, being like, and now she has feelings for him. It never feels like mindless conflict or forced love drama. It just feels funny. It feels hilarious. It feels like it belongs in its own unique way, and you know nothing will ever tear these two apart. And that's what I love about the show, is that it really does have its own identity, its own flair, and in the world of rom-coms, you generally don't see something that just screams you, that it's its own series, it's not trying to be something that came before. And that's what makes it so special. The presentation has always been something I've really enjoyed. I've always loved the soft colors, the round character models. I've always said, like, Nasa and Tsukasa, like all of them, you never get mad looking at anything on screen. So by switching something so peaceful, so I wouldn't say it's not detailed, but it's a lot more minimal in terms of how much is being drawn or how much detail is applied, and then you switch it to hyper-detailed Street Fighter, you can't help but be taken back in a good way and say, I really like this show. It just feels good to have an episode like this really feel like the character bondings, the things that have pushed away characters or have brought them together, having it all come together in such a satisfying way with this episode. It leaves, I think, episode 12 off on a good route that it can honestly probably do anything, even if it's just them staying in their little building for 20 minutes, talking about their relationship. It would be a fine closer. It honestly would. It feels like by using episode 11 as kind of being that like stopping point to kind of bring everything together, make the viewers say, hey, we've experienced a lot, the characters have developed. The final episode really has no expectations that it has to do, and in doing so, I think could end up being one of the best episodes of the season, if not the best, depending on what they do in terms of the emotional, comedic, or just the romantic aspects in terms of how they impact us and things like that. This was just an incredible episode. The voice actors completely knocked it out of the park, especially the overwhelming nerd joy from these characters and the passion of not wanting to lose and making up excuses. It was just a beautifully directed, animated, and honestly, vocally, they performed so well. Some of my favorite vocal performances in terms of this season of Over the Moon for You. I can't wait to see how this is going to wrap up next week. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, your favorite moment. I'm sure a lot of people's favorite moment is going to be that Street Fighter segment, but whatever you're feeling, of course, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, show your support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.